Okay, we're deciding between Pioneer and Newcastle Trail. You want to do the yellow or do you want to do the
Pioneer,
orange?
which is 3.8k. Newcastle, which is 4.3k.
And it should be all pretty flat.
We could potentially take the 4.3 one and cut it here with this other trail that goes through it.
Whatever that is.
It just
Other
says
trails.
Other trails.
Other trails. Alright, well let's do that. So that's the Newcastle?
Yeah.
We arrived in Presqu'ile yesterday after leaving Charleston Lake. And we just kind of relaxed and walked around and did, you know, things that you gotta do. You just heard our discussion on how we decided which trail we were going to do. Both of the trails start from the same spot. So you park back there, you walk in a little bit, and then one trail goes off to the left.
Along these giant maple trees.
Left.
These giant maple trees.
And one goes off to the right. This is a beautiful little road that we probably never would have come down if it wasn't for this trail.
Thank you.
The last time we were in Presqu'ile, we had our beautiful Maya, but she was elderly, so we didn't walk any trails past a certain number of kilometers, so neither of these trails were short enough for her back then. So we've never walked these trails, even though we've been here before. But only once before. Insect repellent tip. Don't just spray your skin. Spray your shoulder blades and your shoulders where, you know, where it's tight, where your clothing is tight, because skeeters can still get you there. There are a lot of planes overhead. We thought they were just airliners, but they're actually army planes. And in retrospect, I believe there is a base near Belleville, or maybe it's in Trenton. Oh, I think it's in Trenton, isn't it? Isn't there a base in Trenton? Which is close by, so she's been pretty good so far, but as you can tell, she's decided that, oh, there are some things in the air. Let's go! Woo!
Yay!
Here we go. We finally got to the trailhead. Not finally, it wasn't too far. So we are heading on the orange trail to the right. To the right. I almost said to the left. This trail should be fairly flat, unlike some of the trails we've done recently. Like a lot of the trails in Charleston Lake were quite hilly to a degree. So this is our 7th campground. We have one more after this, but we're only staying at that one for one day. So we are like day 22, I believe. So if you want to check out the other videos from the other parks, I'll link to that. You know, it'll all be in the same playlist. We started at Balsam Lake, stayed 2 days there. Silent Lake, 2 days. 2 nights rather, so 2 nights, 3 days. After Silent Lake, we went on to 7 nights at Bon Echo, 2 nights at Fitzroy, 2 nights at Rideau River, and then a week, 7 nights at Charleston Lake. We are now at Presqu'ile for 3 nights, and then we spend 1 night at Sebald Point. So we went to the Marsh Boardwalk this morning, and unfortunately it's closed because the water levels of the lake are so high that the boardwalks that are meant to be stationary are actually floating, so they don't want anybody putting undue weight and strain on them. It's a really nice trail that we would have loved to have done a walking video of, but that will have to wait until some other time. So at the boardwalk, the observation tower was still accessible. And there's an informational sign there. If I can remember, I'll pop it up on the screen right here. And it talked about how this land has changed over the last, how many thousand years? 15,000 years or something? 12,000 years. And how Presqu'ile, which Chitra looked up, it means almost an island, was actually an island at one time. It was 2 islands. So why don't you tell us, because I thought that was really interesting.
So a series of islands came up out of the water as the glaciers receded, and the weight of 300 feet of water over top of the land went away. The land rose because that weight was keeping it down, so it actually rises up.
And wasn't there silt in that too as the current slowed?
When the water receded. And then these 2 islands just off the coast caught debris that was coming along the edge of the shoreline, and it slowly built up from one side and built up from the other side, and then little marshes grew in those little spots. Then it built up a little bit more and built up a little bit more, and little more marshes grew in those spots, and then it joined together. And what it's called is a tombolo, which is where an island joins the mainland by silt deposits happening over time and turning it into land. So it's now land connected between the 2 islands and the mainland, and there's a marsh, a semicircular marsh in between those 2 places.
It's a sandbar too, right?
It's the largest tombolo that they know of.
So it's definitely the largest in Canada, and possibly the largest in the world, but they're not quite sure. Chloe, there's going to be a test, so it's a good thing you were paying attention, honey. We love coming out here and learning new things. That's what's great about provincial and national parks, is they try to educate you so you can learn something and experience nature. But of course you don't have to, but we like to. This is a really popular port too.
Before they designated a World Heritage Site because of its Tombolo Marsh.
And because this is an amazing place for birding, and just off the shore are 2 islands that have huge colonies of birds. Different kinds of birds like cormorants, terns, different kinds of gulls. And so between March and September or October, you can't even take a boat close to the island. It is off limits. And I think they have breeding sandpipers.
They do, yeah. They have a shore where breeding sandpipers come.
They have a lot of really big mosquitoes as well.
Really big ones.
Yeah.
The black and white striped ones that burn.
They burn, and they don't care what you're wearing. It's just condiments. Under the boardwalk, walk. So in the spring, when this is covered in water, there are wood frogs and spring peepers and salamanders, I believe is what the paperwork said. So there's quite a lot of facilities at this park. There's a gift shop and a museum at the Lighthouse, I believe. There's a nature center which has some pretty amazing displays and different types of programs. There's a park store. It has some of your regular kind of convenience store kind of supplies. And then we're just outside of the town of Brighton, which has most of what you would need if you were here for a longer period of time. We're continuing to follow the orange signs.
Yeah, but what's that?
That's the water.
That's what she wants to go to.
Of course she does. Leaping chitras. Look at these beautiful ferns. So this has been an especially buggy year. We had a very, very wet spring, and Then we went into a fairly hot summer. Perfect conditions for biting insects. Beautiful ostrich ferns through here. Some sensitive ferns.
Alrighty.
Wow, we've got a
Where are we?
huge number of crossroads here.
We are here. Do we do this or do we do this?
Let's cross up.
Do we say?
Yeah.
Get into a buggy.
Well, I'm getting a little warm. Chloe's like, I want to go that way, just because you guys don't want to. So it's easy to shorten or lengthen these trails by combining them or going across the other trails. Remember at the beginning I said that I sprayed my shoulder blades? Didn't help. She stopped to listen to the plane and off she went. Perfect. That's what we want to see. Okay, so that was the cross trail. The trail that was an asphalt trail. So now we're actually on the road for part of the trail, it would seem. So one-way road that goes through the peninsula part of the park with a bike lane, which is pretty nice. So the park is pretty accessible by bike. I didn't realize that part of this trail was on the road. Oh, just a little bit. I can see the entry back in. Chloe's already had a whole bunch of water this morning. It's the first thing she did when she went to the river, or the lake rather. Look at that, it matches your shirt. How pretty. Don't close it, please. Thank you.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to.
Just like, oh, just be with some mosquitoes.
You put on the one that you put on at the beach and it was
Yeah.
a bad idea.
No big deal.
Because
We were wrong.
this place definitely has a lot of mosquitoes.
Yep. So if you're looking for day trips, other than the Proctor Park that I'd mentioned, we've gone to Ferris Provincial Park from here. North Beach Provincial Park, which is a day use area, which has beach on Lake Ontario as well as beach on a small inland lake. It's really quite nice, really good for dogs. Sandbanks Provincial Park is also within driving distance. You can make day trips down into Prince Edward County, which the last two parks that I mentioned are in Prince Edward County. But if you're willing to go further, there's Lake on the Mountain, which is just past Picton. And at the very tip of the island is the Prince Edward County wildlife area, which is quite nice, but it is quite a drive as well. So it depends on how long you're willing to drive. Can you hear the cicadas in the background? There are ticks in this area, so wear some DEET and do a tick check. Long pants are good. Tick check. Holy, eh? That was kind of crazy.
A little bit less than peppery.
Chloe's like, let's go out of here. There's planes and there's skeeters. There's skeeter planes. So we're back at the place that we started, where we were deciding whether to go on the Pioneer Trail or the Newcastle Trail. And so straight forward is going to be where we parked. It's also where the beach is. Whew. So very simple trail, easy to make it shorter or longer. You can stop at the nature center during the trail. You can stop at the Lighthouse Center on the trail. You could hike the Newcastle Trail and the Pioneer Trail and do a great big huge loop. We hope you enjoyed listening to us swat away the skeeters and checked out the one of the trails at Presqu'ile this time. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. It's absolutely free. New videos every Thursday. These are big, beautiful maples, aren't they?